Good evening. This is Brett Stalk up in Carcass John. Want to say hello to you for Choices Podcast. Welcome. It's Tuesday night. We love doing this on Tuesday night. Get us ready for the rest of the week.
Jack Hill.
And Choices Podcast, you can find us at choicespodcast.com, or you can find us on Facebook group, Choices Podcast, and you can write it in the comment any questions you might have. We have a frustrating topic tonight. Frustrating. It's called change and whether you can change someone. Lord. Anyways, we're going to have a good time doing it. And we can start off with Carcass John picking the lyrics to a wonderful song on change.
You know, and yes, this is a little frustrating because I know that we all want to change people for the better, right? But we'll get into it later about how that works. But I had already done it. The obvious lyric would have been David Bowie Changes, but I already did that one. So I had to dig deep. So Jack Johnson, do you know who that is? Kind of a folk guitarist guy.
Yeah, Jack Johnson's cool, dude.
I think isn't he from Hawaii? Anyway,
yeah.
So this is called My Own Two Hands. I thought it was perfect for tonight. It says, I can change the world with my own two hands. I could make it a better place, with my own two hands. Make it a kinder place with my own two hands, with my own two hands. I can make peace on earth. With my own two hands. I can clean up the earth with my own two hands. I can reach out to you with my own two hands. On and on. I'm going to make it a brighter place. With my own two hands. I'm going to make it a safer place with my own two hands. I'm going to help the human race. Yes, with my own two hands. I thought that was pretty cool.
It is cool, but that's what we're talking about tonight.
And you know what? People want change, but they don't realize that they got to get to work, man. You got to get your hands dirty. Your own two hands.
It's like this week ago, I could talk about this for days and drive myself crazy. It's like when someone cheats on their wife, you can't change them, dude. A leopard never loses its spots. You can't change them, dude. Hey, somebody that's a convicted sex offender, you can't change them. You can't. You can do everything you want to change them. Now,
but isn't the secret that they have the gumption to change, or whatever you want to call it?
They'd have to get the best counseling with the best people, and they'd have to do it on a daily basis. It's ingrained. It's just hard. You know what I mean? I haven't seen it done.
Well, I would like to. In fact, we just had this discussion, Steph and I, about life. Basically, I mean, you can lose all your money, you can lose your friends, you could lose your family members, but if you lose hope, man, you got nothing.
Nothing, because hope is faith.
Right.
If you lose hope, you lose faith, and you have zero.
Right. So, I would hope that there is a remedy for people like that to change. But even in my own life, I know that nothing happens unless Akeem Olajuwon, the basketball player, was a customer of mine, and I asked him how he went from this poor African country to coming over here on a full scholarship, and he said an African disease called really gotta wanna. And I said, "What?" And he said, "I really gotta wanna." And he says, "Anytime you wanna improve or get better, you really gotta wanna." And that always stuck in my head. And so when I think about improving my own life, I look at his work ethic and where he was, and even in college, he was a great basketball player, but he was nothing like he was into the pros. But he worked really hard, and I saw it frequently because he was one
Yeah,
of
dude,
my
that's
long.
all different. That's all different what I'm talking about. I'm talking
Well,
about
you're talking about something that's ingrained mentally, not so much physically.
yeah, I'm down in the ditch, Carcass. It's like, okay, here's my phase 3. So phase 1, I told you someone that cheats on their wife, leopard never loses a spot, or wife cheats on her husband, leopard never loses spots. How about sex addiction? It's a tough one, dude. Okay, let's go to alcoholism and drug addiction. Can you change someone from being an alcoholic and a drug addict?
Well, here's the deal. You can't change them, but you can advise them, you can sympathize with them, you can encourage them, but until they really gotta wanna, they ain't gonna do nothing. They're not gonna do it.
Yeah, I know, but here's the deal. That's good wisdom, Carcass. But here's the deal. The old adage in recovery used to be you can't change somebody until they hit rock bottom, until
Sure.
their pain, what we say on the show is until their pain outweighs the recovery. That's so true. But look, so parents are taught not to enable their kid. Let your kid go run wild. Wait till he hits rock bottom and we'll put him in recovery. You can't do that nowadays.
No. I wouldn't necessarily say let your kid go run wild. I would say allow your child to make some decisions, kind of like what I told you about my dad. My dad knew I was going to that party when I was a kid, and he said, "Well, you can go to the party if you want, but you're gonna give me your keys when you get back, or you can go do something else," because he knew there would be drugs and alcohol at this party. And he basically said, it's your decision." And then me being dumb, I made my own decision saying, "Well, he's never going to find out. Why would how's he going to know anyway where I went?"
Carcass, that's what I'm talking about though. When you went to a party back then, you had some Mexican weed, right?
Well,
You had some,
Nebraska ditchweed, but it's kind of the
yeah,
same
yeah,
thing.
yeah, dude. And you had Boone's Farm wine, maybe a little Everclear if you want to get real crazy. But today it came out. There's another drug 100 times as strong as fentanyl that's hit the
Uh,
street. You can't let your kid go hit rock bottom and give up on them until they hit rock bottom. Because if they get hold of some fentanyl, they're dead. Then
yeah.
you're going to be all mad at yourself that, oh man, I should have stayed on them. I should have stayed. You got to stay in the game in some capacity.
I think you have to be aware, and you cannot let your kids just go run wild. In When I was a kid, my parents didn't just let me run wild, but they gave me responsibilities. I earned their trust, and I still made mistakes, but it wasn't like they were following me around like I was a puppy or something.
Yeah, but Carcass, today it's different because of these
Oh, I
things.
know. I know it's different. And
Dude, they can have a flash party in 15 minutes. They'll fill your house up while you're on vacation
yeah.
without you ever knowing about it, dude.
Well, I'd know about it, believe me, because things are in a certain place here.
But anyways, I'm going back to the change. Can you change someone?
I don't know. I think that if you are not kind of like, my sitting in church wisdom stuff, I think until you center yourself on something higher up and you have a purpose, like when you really know what your purpose is and the direction you should go, until then you're going to be prone to the answer will I would be I would venture a guess say no. You can't change. But until you square that away in your own heart and mind and soul, I that's your only way out.
What if someone comes to you and says, "I want to change. I'm an alcoholic. I'm a drug addict. I'm a no good."
I've had someone come to me, and guess what? He just turned a year of soberness. The
That's
first time
one
it,
out of 1,000. Well, I'm talking to you about what are you going to tell them if somebody comes to you and says, "Carcass, you got a lot of wisdom. I want to change. I don't know how to change." What would you say?
I would I'd get a pen and pad out, and we would write some things down. And I wouldn't bite off too much more than they could chew, but I would say, "Are you willing to commit to this?" And if they're willing to commit to that, then I would bird dog them a little bit. But once again, I am not going to follow someone around and watch their every move. They've got to learn to trust themselves. They've got to learn to trust themselves. I I can't coattail like I couldn't coattail on my parents. Uh, as far as I've been a member of my church my whole life, and I coattailed my parents a long, long time in my beliefs. And then one time, my dad and I had a very frank discussion, and he said, "How do you remember? I think I told you this." He said, "Do you feel close to God?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Guess who moved?" And then walked away. And so
I think that's where you start.
it kicked in my head that maybe I need to show some sort of motivation for myself to change, not just coattailing somebody.
Okay, I'm gonna give you some wisdom.
Okay,
You
I'm
ready?
ready to write.
Mahatma Gandhi says, "Be the change you wish to see in the world."
Okay.
So my advice is to say, what is it that you want? Well, start with the person comes to you and says, "I want to change, but I don't know how to change." I'm going to say, "What do you want?" Got it? What do you want more of? They say, "I don't know." Then I'd go, "Well, what do you don't want? What do you want out of your life?" Drugs, alcohol. Good. I'll give you the right place. I'll help you with that. But I'm talking about for your heart. What change do you want to see in your heart to
I
live a
think it's
better
important.
world?
I think it's important to define terms for sure, because a lot of people, I know people that want to lose weight, want to go to the gym and whatever. I used to see it all the time when I was in the gym 3 hours a day, 6 days a week. Um, but they didn't have a clear path. They didn't have a structure. They didn't have discipline. They weren't responsible to somebody. My best days in the gym were when I knew that I had two
Okay,
training
good.
partners there, and I knew they were gonna be disappointed if I didn't show up because
So
we
the
had a routine.
number one, you're saying, let me go back to what I'm saying. You got to ask somebody what they want. Then you got to ask them what they don't want. Then you got to ask them what's standing in the way from them getting what they want. Guilt, anger, fear. And then when you hear that, you can go, "Okay, I'm going to be your accountability partner. I'm going to be your mentor. What do we need to do to correct this, to help you change?" And I give them three things every time. Three things. Good therapist, I give a good therapist name. Good treatment center, depends what they want. Good church, Give them names of good church. Start with the Feel Good Church. Feel Good churches are good for young Christians. Orthodox churches are good for mature Christians. And put them on, okay, I want to talk to you. You can't tell somebody, all right, run out there and do that, and I'll see you Friday.
Mm-mm.
You got to go, I want you to report back to me Friday and tell me what you've done. And you got to let them claim it themselves. You got to let them do it themselves.
It's kind of akin to finding a job. If you're trying to find a job, what you're going to do is you're going to define yourself. This is what I do well, and this is what I'm going to focus on. And then, as you like, if for example, if you're getting benefits from whatever the government, you have to tell them, this is what I did this week. These are the 7 places or the 8 places that I interviewed.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So first of all, it starts with defining who you are, and we all have weaknesses, and we need to be aware of them, but we don't need to focus on them. We need to know what we do well. I think that's more important, because as the more you expand what you do well, the weaknesses will start to fade away. That's my opinion.
Well, you remember that one guest that we had? What was her name? She was really cool. Christine, about chipping away
No, yeah,
every day, making something a little bit better, just a little bit at a time.
sure.
You know, I watched my client. I have a hearing with him tomorrow. He's done everything I said to do, and he's so humble. He said he thanked everybody in my office today, no matter what happens tomorrow. I mean, he doesn't even look the same. But you know what? He presents himself differently too. Yeah, he got off the alcohol, he got off the drugs, he got off the weed. Anybody that thinks legalizing weed is going to fix anything, boy, they got another thing coming. Anyways, he's done all that, and he's really grown. And I don't have to say a word tomorrow. I just have to present him to go, here's my miracle. If you want a miracle, you want to change, you want to be a miracle, I want to help you be a miracle. That's the way I live my practice. We're looking for it all the time. But you come in my office and tell me you just stole $20 million from the fruitcake factory? It's hard to change the character of somebody like that, Carcass.
Yeah, he better be prepared to give it back to, and that'll just be the starting point.
Yeah. It's hard to change the character of a thief.
Well, I've been around some of your cases only because I've recommended a few people to come see you legally. And so I've been pretty tight with your system of things. And one of them mentioned to me, man, he makes me do a lot of stuff. I thought he was the lawyer. I said, he's not your servant.
No.
He's your source of what do I need to do to get past this?
I'm your partner.
Right. He's in the boat with you, but he's not going to do all the paddling.
No. And that's the way it is when you're mentoring somebody that says they want to change. Okay, I'm going to be your partner in this, but let's get it figured out. And you know what? It's just like this podcast. I change every week after we get off this podcast. I learn something every week when we get off this podcast. This podcast is, with as many people as we reach, it's a modern day group therapy. It is. For people that don't want to go dump their junk and want to grow. You know, that's what we're about.
Well, I feel like I think I told you this when I used to teach the adult Sunday school class, I felt like I learned more than they did just because I had to prepare for that. And then I had a martial arts instructor in college tell me one time, the way to learn is to teach.
Yeah.
And so you sort of have to practice what you preach, so to speak, in order to make it effective.
Well, you know, I I always tell lawyers that come in my office, they say, "Hey, I got this. What about this in this case? This is going to come out. This going to." I go, "How? Don't come in and tell me what's going to happen.
No.
Tell me how they're
Do
going to
they have
get
a
it
crystal
in.
ball that you don't?
Yeah, tell me how they're going to get it in, and tell me how you're going to fight back." And that's the way it is with helping someone on change. Don't come in with a bunch of drama, dude. Don't tell me what you've done. I've heard it all. Tell me how you're going to fix it. Tell me
Right.
how you're going to change your attitude. Tell me how you're going to find. I love to ask somebody, how are you going to find joy? Tell me how you're going to. Come on, Louis. The president of the family just came. Say hi there, buddy. Louis.
The boss. Yeah.
Yeah, the boss. Tell me how you're going to find joy. Joy is a big word. It's a big 3-letter word.
Well, people confuse happiness and joy all the time. Happiness is temporary. Happiness is haha. And it's good to have happiness.
Yeah,
But
it's good to
joy,
laugh.
joy is eternal.
It is.
It's not a temporary thing.
I'd rather have joy than peace, wouldn't you?
I think so. Because I think you're at peace when you have joy. There's that's one of those things that's linked to a bunch of different statutes of life. But you know what? It reminds me the problem, and once again, we're talking about having a game plan, having something tangible. You can go through the routine of the physical routine, but I watched. I love sports, and I think there's a lot to be learned from sports, just from the mental and the physical disciplinary side of things. But I watched, SMU, our local Southern Methodist University. They're a smaller school for a big FBS college. They were down in their game. They were getting thumped, and somehow they made an adjustment at halftime and got back to doing other things. They got back to doing things that worked because they adjusted for their adversity, and they made it a game. Now they came up short. They lost 34-31, but they were down 24 to nothing, or 24-7, or something. They were getting whomped, as my dad would say. But I think it's important for us to realize that there, as Bruce R. McConkie said, there's no all at once in life.
No. Back to what Christine was telling us about the way she went from scrubbing toilets to owning 3 different businesses. Just every day, just do something a little bit better.
Pennies make
Every day.
dollars. Pennies
Huh?
make dollars.
Pennies make dollars. I like that.
It may seem trivial, like, oh, what's a penny do? Well, if you have 100 pennies, you got $1. If you got $100, well, now you're getting somewhere. So once again,
Okay.
this is a difficult subject because I see people with it's always easier to be outside the fishbowl looking in. It's easier to see the faults in others. But that's why I not only, if someone asks my assistance, I interject, but I look at myself in the mirror too and think, what can I do better? You have to do it with yourself too. But that goes along the line with, not only, yes, sir.
I'm going to teach you something here.
Okay,
You
teach
ready?
me. I got my pen out again.
There's a lot of people that want to change, and what they want to change is something that's been embedded in their brain since they were very young. Okay? And whenever you're looking at someone to change, you always sort of look at the mother and the father. How are they raised? Hard? Easy? What did the parents say to them? Because some people have negative tapes in their mind, just like a tape in your mind that they wake up with every morning that's negative, that says it could be, I'm not good enough, I don't deserve good, I'm an addict, I'm a drug head, I need another negative tape could be, I need dope to live, or I need I need to get drunk to make this go away. It's a negative tape that just goes on and on and on and on. And then at the end of the day, right before they go to bed, they take that tape and put it in the corner. They wake up in the morning, they pick it back up.
Mm-hmm.
You have to change the negative tape with positive affirmation. Starting with,
Got to record over that tape.
you got to record over it. You got to erase the negative. And one of the things is, if I get a negative thought, I'll say scat in my mind to switch the tape to a positive tape. If I catch myself on a negative. Isn't that weird?
No.
It works for me, though.
I think sometimes verbalizing certain things is.
Yeah, but I got to tell myself, oh, scat. I need to get out of this. Scat. Switch. Switch into something positive. Switch. I need alcohol. You know what? Boom. I'll take the word right out of my mouth. Oh, I miss the taste of wine. I don't miss the taste of wine. Come on, dude. Shut your mouth. Everything's going to work out. But it's about replacing negative tapes. It is. With positive tapes. I can do it. I'm good enough. I deserve it. I tell people, I got the young ones around me that I mentor. I'll text them all the time. Hey, hope you're having a great day. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of what you've done. This week is my daughter's final. She's stressed out. I call her every day. Hey, I don't care about your grades. I care about you. And I hope you have a great week.
Now, getting that person to believe that you're.
They believe it. My daughters truly believe it.
And I know that you and I know that you truly do mean that, because I know that the feelings you have for your children and for those around you are real, and they are more important than grades or money or cars or houses or whatever else. But
here's the thing. What if I was to call and say, hey, how do you think you're doing on this, getting ready for this test tomorrow? How do you think you're going to do? Right?
Right.
I took them out to lunch, dude, when they were 18. This is your life. I don't care. I'm there for you on the bank. But as far as decision making, you got it. I can't put any more pressure on them than they put on themselves.
Right. Well, and once again, it gets back to that old adage that they gotta really wanna.
You gotta really wanna.
And until
and also what we talked about success last week.
Uh-huh.
It's hard work, dude. Change is hard work.
I can change the world with my two hands.
Hey, when I quit drinking 35 years ago, I went to therapy twice a week for 7 years. It was hard work. Best 7 years. I can't complain one bit, but I did the work. I wanted to break the chain in my family of alcoholism. I wanted to break the chain in my family and change the anger, the way people responded by yelling or hitting. I wanted to change you don't deserve to make a lot of money. I wanted to change all that. And I had to do it through hard work, man. It's not a gift.
Well, you don't get accepted to college and they just hand you a degree, Brett. You gotta go to class. You gotta work it. You gotta read.
You gotta work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the people that are a fraud in that, and I know it, you talked about it with Denny a couple of weeks ago about some of these professional athletes that can't even read.
They're
Where are they
illiterate.
at now? They
They're
put in the
illiterate.
work. They put in the work to play football or play basketball, but they didn't put in the work for after that career is over.
I went to the basketball game, SMU basketball game last Saturday, and they played Virginia. And those Virginia kids all had haircuts. They got to have a 3.0 to play on the team.
Yeah.
And I was so glad to hear someone require that, man. I'm like, going to college is, is getting an education. It's a gift.
Well, especially in the sporting side of college now, with NIL and the fact that they're
Oh, my
paying these
God.
kids, it's ruining it. To me, it's ruining the integrity of the game. But that's for another day. But
Yeah.
when I remember as a high school assistant coach, we had our guys coat and tie it. And some of these dudes didn't know how to sign their own name or tie a tie, but guess what? By the end of the season, everybody did,
Yeah.
and it changed their outlook on who they were and how they presented themselves in a professional manner.
What I hope for this podcast on choices, I hope it grows with people that treat this as like group therapy on growth, on improving your life. I look at the data on who's watching the show, and we have a lot of adults our age wanting to live a better life because that's the way we grew up. We always wanted better, and we always were willing to do the work. I hope we gravitate to some younger adults, to watch the podcast, and everyone jumps in on buying into change. A little bit every day, just a little bit every day.
Yeah, we're not looking for perfection, but we're looking for people who are willing to take steps towards it.
Yeah, isn't that good?
Yep.
Well, Carcass, I think we have done a good job. Reverend will be here. I heard Reverend talking to us at the early part of the show. Only way you're going to get change is wash with the blood of the Lamb, and he's right.
Well,
Let
and
God
that's
change you.
and as I mentioned, that is a very critical part in getting that oneness with Him. You're figuring out your purpose and
Yeah.
your direction. But
Yeah.
if you don't have, like my dad said, a pilot for many years, all airspeed, no direction will get you in the side of a mountain.
Yeah, isn't that the truth?
Yep.
Well, I want to end the show with a great quote by Mahatma Gandhi. I loved him, dude, because Mahatma Gandhi. Some people say he wrote The Measure of a Man, and some people say Teddy Roosevelt wrote it. Some people say, what's his name? The British. What's his name? Oh, my God.
Churchill.
Yeah, he wrote it. I think Mahatma Gandhi wrote it. He was a cool dude. He says, change your thoughts and you change the world. Isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
He and Mother Teresa, change your thoughts and you'll change the world. And I think, if you don't make it about you, you're going to make it about changing the world.
With
But
your
man,
two
hey,
hands.
we appreciate all you guys listening to our podcast and jumping in. We hope that you feel growth. And anytime you want to ask a question, feel free. You can reach out to me or Carcass or Reverend, and we'll be fine. We'll find a way to answer it. You guys have a great week. Thank you very much.
Thanks. See you then.
All right, bye.